Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. In 1986, we got introduced to an American romantic thriller film called The Big Easy. It was directed by Jim McBride, and it was written by Daniel Petrie Jr. The production stars Dennis Quaid, Ellen Barkin, John Goodman, and Ned Beatty, with it being set and shot on location in New Orleans, Louisiana. The storyline in New Orleans follows Lieutenant Remy McSwain as he has the task of investigating the murder of a local mobster, which leads law enforcement to suspect an impending conflict between two rival crime families. Meanwhile, Ann Osborne, a state district attorney, arrives to probe into allegations of police corruption in the city. Once she witnesses some of Remy's unconventional methods, she accuses him of corruption, asserting that he has been compromised. Remy counters by suggesting that Anne does not fully grasp the complexities of the policing system in New Orleans. Despite her initial distrust and wariness towards Remy, a romantic relationship develops between the two. But when Remy is purportedly caught accepting a bribe during an internal affairs operation, the furious Anne finds herself in the position of having to prosecute him. With the help of Remy's colleagues, critical evidence is either destroyed or concealed, leading to the dismissal of the charges. At this juncture, Anne grapples with conflicting loyalties between her personal feelings for him and her obligation to uphold the law. The movie showcases one of the most erotic love scenes that you'll ever see in a film between Annie and Remy. All of this made more erotic because the two lovers don't perform like champions at what they are doing, but come to the bedroom with all the insecurity of people who are almost afraid to believe that it could be this time for real. The backgrounds in their story is saturated and with character actors so finely chosen that it makes the film fascinating from moment to moment, even when there's not much happening at all in it. One of these outstanding performances is by Charles Ludlam, as he plays a defense attorney, dressed in his summer suit and talking a mile a minute in a Cajun cadence, somewhat like a cross between Lee F. Bailey and Truman Capote. Another outstanding Southern performance is created by Ned Beatty, which really is one of the finest ones he's done in years, as he plays the police chief who sincerely wants to do the right thing, but just can't. All of these characters blended together make one of the most convincing portraits of New Orleans that you'll ever see in a film. The authentic Cajun music on the soundtrack and the immersion into the feel of the streets and alleys that run through the city create an atmosphere that shows how New Orleans does business. Barkin and Quaid construct a relationship that in itself would be enough for the whole movie. They love each other, but they're disillusioned. They face each other as enemies in court and then reconcile in a wonderful scene at a crawfish boil and a Cajun hootenanny thrown by Quaid's friends. The opening aerial track of the shot of the New Orleans Bayou sets the atmosphere for the film, as you hear the Cajun band Beau Soleil plays Zydeco Gris-Gris throughout this aerial shot. The movie uses a very fast-paced dialogue that's said to be inspired by the films of Howard Hawks. The producers used well-known locations in the city, such as Tipitina's, Antoine's, and Blaine Kern's warehouse full of Mardi Gras parade floats, along with the French Quarter to set the mood of the film. That signature New Orleans setting was actually a late change in the development of the project. The original title of the script was Windy City and was set in Chicago. The change in location was attributed to a suggestion by a production executive for the studio who had recently graduated from Tulane University, located in New Orleans. Now, during the court proceedings, you'll see a very familiar face, not from the movies, but from real life. And that face is Jim Garrison. He plays the judge in Remy's bribery case. He was an actual lawyer and judge who worked in New Orleans and was for a time the city's district attorney. A case he had when he was in that position was the subject of Oliver Stone's film JFK from 1991. Garrison was played by actor Kevin Costner in that movie. Like many directors often do, Jim McBride put off the sex scenes until the end of the shoot to give the actors a little bit of time to get to know each other. On the weekend before that love scene was filmed, Ellen Barkin and Dennis Quaid's single rehearsal was a complete nightmare. And the day that the actual scenes were shot, the stars, who were both known for their professionalism, were so paralyzed with nerves that even the most minor scene required 20 takes. They finally got to the point to where they were racing against the clock, and they had to shoot the whole thing basically in one long master shot, which turned out to be just phenomenal. Now, Ellen Barkin has had some pretty horrific things to say about the way she was treated in some of her earlier movies, including this one. While she was auditioning for this role, the film's producer made disparaging comments about her appearance right in front of her, but Jim McBride fought to keep her in this part. The producer actually said in front of her that she looked like a girl that would give you a disease. Now, I don't see this at all. I think during this time that most men, audience members, viewed her as an object of desire. One of the most interesting things that she tells about her alleged mistreatment in Hollywood was the way that she was treated on the set of Sea of Love. In that, she alleges that during a very difficult scene from that 1989 movie where she was laying there completely nude with only an artificial covering known as a merkin covering up her private parts, she felt completely exposed and vulnerable. But that was made terribly worse when the director, Harold Becker, walked over and literally ripped off that merkin, taking some of her pubic hair with it, and then turning to her and saying, "We don't need this. Nobody's looking at you." She swears by these statements, and as far as I know, the director never responded to him at all. Ellen Barkin and Dennis Quaid do an exceptional job in this movie. Go back and watch this fun film from the 80s. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.